Zack Neto has been firing on all cylinders lately, and a big reason why? How about not being traded and John Mozeliak calling a meeting to figure out his swing changes? Those two things played a huge part in why the Angels were able to get to the Guardians starter, Gavin Williams, last night.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, on today's show, we've got all the details from Game 2 between the Angels and the Guardians, including the Halos getting the starter Gavin Williams, but Walbert Ureña not lasting very long either. We'll break that down for you. Hey, what caused the changes in Zack Neto's swing? How about interim GM John Mozeliak? We'll talk about that in segment 2. But first, Mike, we heard from Zack Neto, the one and only, on MLB Network on Monday. What did he have to say?
Yeah, they spoke with Neto about the trade deadline and how it impacted him. John, here's what he said. He said it was brutal and it was stressful. Those 2 weeks, he said he wasn't having fun. And he tried not to pay attention to the noise. He tried to focus on giving his all for his teammates and the fans in Anaheim every single day. He also shared that he talked to Jon Mozeliak, and that conversation made Neto especially want to stay. Mm-hmm. He wanted to stay with the Angels because he said they drafted him. He wants to be loyal. He wants to stay. He wants to be a part of what turns this team around, and he wants to stay because of the guys in the clubhouse. He talked a lot about the camaraderie in the clubhouse, and he said being a part of the turnaround is the most important thing for him.
Yeah, that's we'll dive into that statement a little bit here in a second, but good to hear that from Zack Neto. He asked he was asked what was special about playing in Anaheim as they commented about the sunny weather. Man, he talked about not seeing rain because he's from Miami and not seeing rain for 2 years. I'd take some rain right now. I'm sick of this 100-degree weather. But Mike, he said that what's special about playing in Anaheim is the fans and the fan base, having fun every single day when he gets to go out there. He said the guys in the clubhouse, especially, that this season in particular is one of the best clubhouses he's been a part of. So all good things from Zack Neto. I got to admit, I was a bit surprised to hear this from Zack Neto. It might be the fact that he's talking about his team on MLB Network, and so these are kind of not necessarily the boilerplate, easy for me to say, things that you might hear from a player, but he did share his feelings about the trade deadline and wanting to stay and want to be part of the turnaround. That's the first time we've heard him say that he wants to be here, in my opinion. I can't think of another time where he said something so affirmingly and staunchly, like, I want to be here. I want to be part of this turnaround, right?
Yeah, it is the first time. And because we haven't heard it, I think that what happens in those situations is that when there's a gap between what is real versus what you're thinking, you're always going to fill that gap in with what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're reading on the field. And the narrative around Zack Neto has been, he doesn't want to be here and he's arrogant and he wants to get out as fast as he can. And all of those things might be true, but what he did on the MLB Network is he said the same things that we've heard from Mike Trout. And Mike Trout has gotten a lot more clear in the last couple of months than I've ever heard him as well. Trout was very clear recently and said, I want to be a part of something magical here. I want to be a part of a turnaround here. I want to see it turn around. Now, I think that this has a lot to do with the fact that there's new leadership and a new strategy in place. And he said he spoke to Jon Mozeliak. And remember, one reporter, and I don't remember who it was, asked him, was there promises made from John Mozeliak to you? Did they say they want to build around you? Because remember, there was that rumor, that narrative out there. And Zack Neto said, and this was maybe about a week after the trade deadline, or maybe a couple days after trade deadline, he said, I'm not going to comment on that. But I do think that there had to have been some sort of future conversation with Mozeliak. And segment 2, I think, will affirm what I'm saying about Zack Neto seeing a new GM, because we're going to talk about why his swing is different and John Mozeliak's involvement. So that's called a tease. But I really think that he's here, John, because he sees the new leadership structure, even the Molly Jolly leadership change, and not, I think he sees the trades. I think he sees the drafting. And as a player, I think he goes, yeah, this looks and feels a lot different. Obviously, there has to be a performance. There has to be results. That's the next thing. But what I loved about what he said, and the same thing that Mike Trout has said, is that's up to me, man. Like, I want to help make that happen. And that's exciting to hear from somebody who I know has frustrated a lot of Angel fans this year because of his strikeouts. He's obviously willing to work on that. We've seen that adjustment even last night when he drove in a run, hitting a ball right up the middle. This is all really good stuff that we heard from Zack Neto. I think he's somebody with 3 years of arbitration left. I think he is somebody that the Angels can build around, because here's what he brings. He brings hustle. He brings a lot of tools to the field. He is a hitter, power hitter. He is a RBI guy. He does play good defense. I know that we've seen lapses in his defense. He is a guy who does the spectacular defensive play as well. He steals bases. And I know that there's a lot to critique about Zack Neto, but this is year 3 of Zack Neto.
Yeah.
Somebody who hasn't had minor league experience for a very long time, didn't grow up in the minor leagues, has grown up right in front of our eyes. And even this year, even in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a different Zack Neto. And so this is why I get excited about hearing this stuff, because I do think that he will be a pillar that we can build around, and not just saying he's a pillar that we will build around because he's a young guy, but he is, I think, earning the right to be built around. Do you agree with me?
Absolutely. I think you're not going to find many shortstops capable of a 30-30-30 season, right? And then that's something that he's proven time and time again that he has the potential of reaching. Hasn't got there yet, but man, I'll take 3 2020 seasons in a row, because that's really unprecedented from that particular position. And I know there's guys like Francisco Lindor out there and Trey Turner, for all the years that he was a really great shortstop. Those guys are getting older. And I think the only guy that right now Zack Neto can't outdo is probably Bobby Witt Jr., right? Yeah. And the Royals certainly paid up to give him the extension and build around him. It's a really good idea to build around your shortstop, especially when you know what they're capable of and what they have the potential of doing. And again, in that second segment, we'll talk about the fact that Mozeliak and company see Zack Neto and a lot of potential. Mike, I feel like, at the trade deadline, it was like, hey, trade everyone, right? If you're going to trade, then let's do this thing right. And we have heard, and we also contested that, like, hey, you know what? Maybe the deal for Detmers, maybe the deal for Neto wasn't quite what the Angels wanted. And that's fine. They can revisit that in the offseason. And they could still revisit both of those trades in the offseason. But I think after having a conversation with Jon Mozeliak and Neto saying what he said, okay, now there's a potential to extend the guy, to keep him around beyond the 3 years of arbitration that he has left. And I think that would be a very good thing for this team. It also depends on what the future of the front office looks like with Jon Mozeliak, because if you're Zack Neto and you have these conversations with him, you see what he's been trying to do with this organization, you want that through line. You want that consistency. And I know Mozeliak said, we'll pass it on to somebody who will continue what we're doing here. But to be honest with you, I feel it in my gut. Mo president of baseball operations hires a GM, and we actually have a proper front office structure for the first time in a long time.
You have to have a grown-up in the room, and he has been the grown-up in the room. And I understand that there wasn't too much to do to be the grown-up in the room, right? Like the floor was all the way down. The ceiling was not very high, right? And so him coming in and just talking to Angel fans as a fan and being clear with us and then telling us what he can't tell us, like we're all like, that's great, it's fantastic, it's super, right? Because that hasn't happened for years. And so having him in the room is great. But I think that they need to have him in the room for at least next season. And even if it's not in the president of baseball operations role, I think he's got to be in this role at least for the next season. Now, obviously CBA conversations, all of that play into that. But let's say everything kind of goes normal and they get a contract and everything's fine. I think Mozeliak's got to be the guy at least for one more year, because he's building something. He's doing something. And then you bring in somebody that can add to that and then maybe move him to a president of baseball operations. I really think that if I'm Zack Neto, if I'm going to stay here, I'm going to stay here because that guy is staying here and he's doing something that we have not seen in the time that Zack Neto has been here, and really in the time that a lot of these players have been here.
It's really interesting if let's say Zack Neto signed an extension tomorrow, right? And you compare that to when Trout signed his extension. What's happening with the Angels right now was not happening with the Angels when Trout signed that extension. They were working from the top down in the sense that they had just got Shohei Ohtani, right? They had Pujols and Andrelton Simmons and all of that, but they were also kind of, cheaping out on starting pitching. Hey, Matt Harvey and Trevor Cahill are going to help us, and they're going to add to our rotation with, Andrew Heaney and an injured Garrett Richards, all that kind of stuff, right? So what's happening now is very different from when Trout signed his extension. And maybe it's just bad circumstances, and I understand Trout's loyalty and everything like that. I think if Neto were to sign an extension, this is the kind of thing you have to do with an organization to keep somebody around and to convince them that, hey, in the time that you're part of this organization, you're going to play some meaningful games, you're going to play some meaningful baseball, and we're going to be able to make that playoff push. It's not going to be for a while. It's not going to be 27, probably not 28,
right? But
we're seeing the baby steps toward that. In fact, in a lot of the ways that they're playing right now, and especially how they played the Guardians last night too. So a lot to be said about the circumstances around Zack Neto, and that'll lead us into our next conversation. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, what caused the changes in Zack Neto's swing? We were all wondering, why didn't they implement this sooner? Well, you know what? The big boss man, Mozeliak, stepped in and said, hey, let's figure this out. We'll talk about that coming right up.
All right, if you think that who's going to hit a home run today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to make your call with Daily Dingers. It's so easy to play. You can make your free pick on who you think is going to hit a home run in their game. And if you're right, you receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Get that. And best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the entire season. Now, my brother John has been very helpful in selecting a player that he believes will hit a home run. And if you're watching on the video side, you immediately saw him turn to his computer because he's getting us the stats. John, do you have a name for our everydayers that they could potentially pick for their daily dinger?
We got a big National League matchup between the Dodgers and the Braves this week. Roki Sasaki's on the mound for the Dodgers. Mike, I'm going to say Matt Olson hits one against the Dodgers tonight. Doesn't have to be off Roki, but that's a bet I'm willing to take. So, go with Matt Olson for a daily dinger.
And you can do that at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. Play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home run. Let's go with noted Angel killer Matt Olson and let him be a noted Dodger killer today in today's game. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, celebrating 10 years of Locked On, covering all of your favorite sports teams, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, college, everything in between. So find your favorite show. I'm sure Brian Peacock over on Locked On 49ers had an interesting episode the other day, considering the news around the Niners, but we only talk Niners during the season, so there you go. Mike, we had a conversation earlier this week on why it took so long for Zack Neto to implement the swing changes that I so brilliantly figured out that he needed to make. Sorry, just kidding. That gave him so much success.
I need you to keep that bit up. Just keep doing it. Don't apologize for it. Just keep that bit up. It's so good.
That's my new Baltimore Orioles.
Yes.
These swing changes turned him into a different beast last week against the Astros and through that Rangers series. So what was the cause? What caused him to finally make those changes? Well, it turned out it was Jon Mozeliak. Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register had a fantastic article yesterday about Mozeliak calling a meeting between him, Zack Neto, Kurt Suzuki, and the hitting coaches. Mike, why don't you tell us what Neto had to say about that?
Yeah, Neto said Mo was new and he just wanted to hear from all of us and see what was going on and how we can move forward. He said, I think it was just one of those meetings that kind of gave me the confidence to say, hey, we're all in this together, and it's not just individualized. It was really cool, and it definitely helped me with confidence. We knew that I wasn't having the year that I wanted to have, and it was just a matter of putting it all together. I loved those comments. I love the idea of not being individualized and having to figure out on your own. We had an everydayer that asked that question a couple of shows ago and said, hey, do you think it was just some outside source? Because I can't see the Angels actually helping from the inside. And Mozeliak has said, no, I don't want outside sources. Yeah. I want us to prioritize this. If they want help outside, that's great. But the help has to come from the inside. John, it came from Jon Mozeliak. And he was like, hey, we got to get this conversation started. And then he spoke about why he wanted to have the meeting, didn't he?
Yeah, he said, when people are going through struggles at times, the one thing you want to eliminate is any confusion as to why. I thought it just made sense that we sit down together and understand what we might be missing, and I wanted him to have a voice in it because it's his career. I also wanted the coaches to give their opinion on what they were doing, and most importantly, I wanted, when we left the room, I wanted everybody to agree on what the path was going to be. It's nice to see him having that success. And then Mozeliak continued, Neto is a potentially elite player. Him finding where he needs to be, it's nice to see. In this league, when you have confidence, you play better. Certainly the way he's carrying himself right now and how he's going about it, he's doing it right. It was after that meeting, toward the end of the homestand before they went on that road trip last week, that they started working on Neto's stance and swing. He worked on it in the cages for about 4 days before trying it against Houston. And he said, you know what? I think I'm going to try this tonight. And the coaching staff said, well, what do you have to lose? And then I was like, yeah, all right, because I'm not hitting anything right now. So certainly those changes paid off. And really cool that we got an answer to the question of what took so long, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's nice to know that Mozeliak got the ball rolling. It's nice to know that he brought in all of the talking heads. He brought in all of the coaches. John, my takeaway from this, one, it's cool that Mozeliak got this started and that he's paying attention to the team and that got communicated to us Angel fans, because we have not heard things like this until after the fact with Perry Manassian. We know that Perry Manassian and Alex Taman, they had some approaches with Joe Madden, and it just didn't work. It wasn't meshing well. And then there's been other stories out there of Perry Manassian suggesting some things, but there's been a refusal from the coaching staff, or at least that's what's been communicated, a refusal of some sort. And here's what my takeaway is: this is why Kurt Suzuki is still the manager of this team, because Mozeliak knows that Kurt Suzuki is going to go, yeah, whatever you want, bro. Yeah, sure, whatever you want, right? Because if you brought in an interim manager, or maybe it was John Gibbons, I wonder if there would be some resistance to stuff like this. Dude, you got to stay up there and we're going to be down here. I don't know why you're talking to us. Like, you got to back off a little bit. I think Kurt Suzuki understands that I have 80 plus losses and I'm probably not going to be here next year. Maybe I'm earning the right to be here next year through my relationship with this guy. And this is what I love about Mozeliak. He doesn't mess around. He's paying attention and he gets everybody in the room and he's like, why isn't this working with one of our best players? So this is why I think Kurt Suzuki is still here.
That I got to push back on the notion a little bit, and that is, this isn't Mozeliak coming in with his spreadsheets and his pen and paper and saying,
Okay, yeah.
here's what Neto needs to do. He got all those guys together and said, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like Neto can't be hitting 220, right?
Yeah.
Like I think
Adult
that's
in the room.
That's
There
what
it
I'm
is.
saying is
In the room.
That's the difference here between Perry Manassian and Alex
Great
Taman and John Mozeliak. It wasn't, the the 10 commandments from on high on stone tablets. It was
Do this, no negotiations. Yeah.
yeah. And so if it was Kurt, if it was Gibbons, if it was somebody else, I think you can get all those guys in the room and also have Neto be part of it and say, all right, guys, Neto's had better years than this. He's had better performances than this. So what's happening and how can we fix it? I love that.
Yeah.
And that's something that's way different from anything we've heard over the last 5 years with Perry. And maybe even going back into Epler and Dipoto and Doofus, Regan's beyond that.
Well, the comment about the individualized, it's not just individualized, we're a team here. That tells me, I'm going to read into it a bit, but that tells me that Zack Neto felt like it was his job to figure this out.
Yeah, he's on an
That's
island.
what it told me. Yep. That's what it told me. So that also told me that Brady Anderson and Kurt Suzuki and a lot of those guys, they need to figure out how to communicate better. Because if your star player is like, yeah, I got to figure this out on my own, and maybe I got to move my hands up, move my hands down. Let me go and figure this out in the TrackMan. Or remember we heard a couple of years ago about Reed Detmers going, oh, I adjusted my how I threw the changeup out of my hand. And we're like, why is he having to figure this out in the dugout by himself, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this feels like. And Mozeliak coming in and going, hey, guys, let's have a conversation here. Have you talked to him? Have you done this? Why aren't we? And maybe he didn't even point anything out. It kind of felt like he was like, okay, ready, set, talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. It's what good leaders do. And look what happened. He's a different hitter in just the last 5 games. The last weekend, he's a different hitter. Even last night, we saw him come through with runners on. Not big loopy swing, not swinging at bad pitches, swinging at strikes, shooting one straight up the middle to knock in some runs. That's exactly what you want from this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the success that he's had over the last week is probably a big reason why he said what he said on MLB Network, and a big reason why he, feels good about this meeting that they had. Like, it's paying off. Obviously, it's frustrating when you're not doing well, and the body language displayed that, and the performance displayed that. The miscues at shortstop displayed that. This is a guy who needs to be thriving, and I think it's good that there's people in place, specifically Mozeliak, who can identify, like, this isn't going right, and we need to figure out why. And he's got so much more potential than what he's been able to do so far this season. This is not a Zack Neto season. Let's figure out how we can fix it. I love that, and I think it was a really great move on Mozeliak's part.
Thanks to our friends at Amazon for this limited ad break. This back-to-school season, you can spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy back-to-school shopping can be. It all starts with a few items, and then suddenly that list gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the shopping cart grows and grows and grows, and you have 10 other things that you didn't see coming, and it adds up really fast. And that's why Amazon is great for any back-to-school moment. They're going to save you money, and you're going to be able to get your kids what they need as they go back to school, even if it's late, even if they go, oh, I forgot about fill in the blank. You can order and have it delivered in the morning. My oldest daughter is the queen of ordering things and having it delivered early in the morning. And then our Ring camera goes off at like 4:30. And we're like, who's breaking in? Who's TPing the house? Oh, no, it's just Amazon delivering. So when you do order late, just remember, they're going to come early and they're going to get you what you need for your kids as they go back to school. So remember, with Amazon's low back to school prices, you can spend less on your kids because every dollar that you don't spend on them is a dollar that you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids.
Well, we can never have nice things, can we, Mike? The Angels fall 8-6 in extra innings, thanks to Jose Ramirez and his 5 RBI day against the Halos. But this one started out 5-0, and it began with Vaughn Grissom hitting a 2-run home run. And it was the bottom of the second where things got really interesting. Christian Moore got his first home run of the season. Now, in that same inning, Gustavo Campero got hit by a pitch, had to leave the game. Later, we were told it was right hamstring tightness. You could see him pulling up on his way to second. So Jose Siri pinch ran. He played the rest of the game for him. Denzer Guzman doubles him in, and then he was moved to third on a sac bunt. Then Zack Neto, with that level swing that we've been talking about, singled right up the middle, drove in Guzman. 5 first-inning runs for the Halos. Did that on 6 hits and 1 walk. First time scoring 5 runs in the first 2 innings since July 1st. And all of it was off Gavin Williams, who had been pretty decent this season. He threw 62 pitches and only went 1 1/3 innings pitched. So you felt pretty good, but you also could see that Walbert Ureña was struggling to throw his best stuff on the mound, wasn't he?
Yeah, couldn't find the strike zone in this start, and he walked the 4 batters in the first 2 innings. In fact, he allowed the first 2 hitters to reach in the first 2 innings, but he didn't give up any runs in those innings, so that was great. Then he had to sit for about 29 minutes during that second inning when the Halos scored. By the way.
It was 29, almost a half an hour.
Halos scored 3 runs. It seemed to help with his command and his mechanics because he struck out Jose Ramirez. He got Joe Adell to strike out. He did allow a single to Nathaniel Lowe, but he got Martinez to fly out to left. And so you saw a big change, and it was really him pitching, not starting on the corners like he was in the first 2 innings. In the first 2 innings, he was starting on the corners and he was missing off the corners. In the third inning, he was starting at the center of the plate, center of the strike zone, and his pitches were falling off and the Guardians were missing it. So he looked good. But then the fourth inning, he kind of went back to what he was doing before, threw a lot of pitches in that inning, a walk and an infield hit, then a Travis Benzada double that scored a run, and it was the first time that they actually got to Ureña. They should have scored some runs early, but they didn't. And then Ramirez follows with a 2-run double. It was 2 of his 5 RBIs, cut the lead to 2 runs, and this was all with 2 outs, and that's so frustrating. That knocked out Walbert Ureña. 3 2/3, 5 hits, 3 runs. It was the 5 walks that really crushed him, and only 3 strikeouts last night.
Top of the 5th, Jose Fermin comes in, 2 outs, 1 runner on, gives up back-to-back singles to allow 2 runs to score and tie the game. But the Halos get the run back. In the bottom of the 5th, Vaughn Grissom hits his 2nd home run of the night, giving the Halos a 6-5 lead. It's his 9th home run on the year. The Guardians come back in the 8th inning. Guess who? Jose Ramirez driving in a run off of Ryan Watson. Now, the Angels did have a chance to take the lead in the bottom of the 8th. There was a runner and Trout hits what would have been a double, maybe even a home run, but Angel Martinez, the wrong Angel in the outfield, gets an amazing leap, gets the 3rd out. Super frustrating. Mike, Ben Joyce came in, pitched a scoreless 9th. Did have a little bit of not diciness and not trouble, but trouble finding the strike zone a little bit, but he was able to get through it. This was the issue, though. You have to rely on guys like Ryan Watson, and then you have to rely on a guy like Blake Wyman, who goes on the mound for the 10th inning. Guardians get 2 runs off him because of Jose Ramirez, a double that scored 2 right there. Josh Lowe was the ghost runner. Christian Moore got hit by a pitch. Jose Siri bunts them over to 2nd and 3rd, so that was great. Denzer Guzman, though, strikes out on 3 pitches, and then Adam Frazier struck out swinging to end the game. I was talking about it with some of the guys in the Everydayer Club in the group chat, and the Angels are down to 7 relievers because of Yusei Kikuchi being back, and also Sammy Natera's not there, and we're also missing Wade Meckler and Nolan Shawnuel. And it's not that the Angels couldn't score in this one, but they just lacked that big hit. Trout almost had that one, if not for a great Angel Martinez play, but I don't know, man. I know that we talked about the 6-man rotation. I know September 1st is coming up, so they can add another arm. Do the Angels just hang tough with the arms that they have right now and hold out for September 1st before they can add another pitcher to cap it at 14? What do you say?
Well, I hope that they actually make a move and decide to do something here. They're probably going to want to maybe try to get a fresh arm in that rotation, but bringing Yusei back and letting him start puts you in a really weird and awkward position. And again, he's an anchor to this pitching staff, and they got to get rid of him. They have to send him away.
Even when he's not on the mound, right?
Right. And then the other frustrating thing is, like, Jose Fermin is good when you don't need him to be good, and he's bad when you need him to be good.
Yeah.
And last night, again, he gives up runs, and you have to rely on him, and you would want to rely on him. He's got really good stuff, but come on, you got to get it together. This will be a really good offseason to refresh all of this and to get arms in there that you can count on instead of arms that you found on the side of the road. Now, I do like that they did find some, like a Ryan Watson, and we're able to bring them in. And I get, like, this is who we're relying on, so this is what you can expect, but it's time for a refresh, and it's time to dig deep into, the pen to figure out what we can do. I know Luke Murphy maybe wasn't available tonight, but like when you got to rely on Blake Wyman, you would have had probably Sammy Natera in that position or a Luke Murphy. But this is what happens when you rely on some of those lower tier relievers, and you're facing a good team with Jose Ramirez, who is a noted Angel killer.
Yeah, look, in the 8th inning, you might have gone to Natera, and they might not have scored that. Jose Ramirez double might not have driven in a run, right? And Ben Joyce could have locked it down in the 9th inning. So it really changes the whole trajectory of the game. But look, the Guardians are vying for a playoff spot. The Angels are not. The Angels are trying to play a brand of baseball that looks like the Guardians. Now, I know they had the 3 home runs, but that wasn't everything that they did well last night. So again, it's one of those situations where you have to look at what was good here versus what was bad, and it's always going to be frustrating to have a loss like this, especially when you're up 5-0. But just being a man short in that bullpen, and gosh, I was looking forward to Gavin Williams versus Walbert Ureña, and they both pooped the bed. I mean, look, I'm glad that we got to Gavin Williams, but I was just like, man, I thought we would have a little bit more length out of Walbert Ureña. So it's just a really disappointing night all around. And again, the Guardians are playing for something. The Angels are trying to figure out who they are, as we've discussed over the last couple of weeks and, in our previous 2 segments and whatnot. And so that's where we're at. It's nice to win games, but it's going to be few and far between, I think, between now and the rest of the year.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. You can find Game Night on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, whether you're watching or listening. Come on over to today's show on YouTube. Get in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the YouTube channel. Even if you're an audio-only person, just give us a little subscribe on YouTube. It'd be very kind of you. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Well, Grayson Rodriguez is on the mound today. We're going to talk about his start tomorrow and see if he continues to improve. It needs to be a second good start for Grayson Rodriguez. Now, they scored him, 18 runs last time he was out. So we're not sure that's going to happen this time. But we need a second good quality start from him, not an up and down roller coaster season. So we'll see what he does. We'll talk about it tomorrow on Locked On Angels. Yeah,
we'll see if we can get through that first inning and have a good feel for his pitches and all of that sort of thing, because that's kind of how he started out against the Astros before he settled in. So we'll get into all of that. Of course, you can always count on us for, a deep dive on all of that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
All right, all you sickos who love this Angels team and all the everydayers who love to watch and listen, we'll see you back here on Thursday.
5-0, and you lose. That's just frustrating. This is the team, right? This is the team.